Welcome everyone to the Relationship Gumbo Podcast live. When you come in, make sure that you share and invite with your friends and family. We're going to have a really important, deep, informative conversation. We're going to talk about what's going on right now with the state of what's going on around the world. Post the unfortunate tragic death of Mr. George Floyd. And we're just going to talk about what this really looks like and what it means. And I want to put some real faces in front of you so we can talk about how this really makes, how it feels, kind of sort of like how we got here and what's really going on. That's really why I made it that title. It's a ode to Marvin Gaye. And I put, the title is What's Going On. So we're going to talk about that. So what I want you to do, I'm going to take, and as you come in, make sure you let us know that you're here. Say hello. Let us know where you're chiming in from. I'm going to take about 30 seconds to make sure that we are broadcasting on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope simultaneously. And on the other side of that, we're going to get right into it. So stay tuned.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derek Jones about to break it down with the Relationship Gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, cause better relationships need better ingredients, so if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derek Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship Gumbo,
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you come in, make sure you let us know you're here. Make sure you share and invite this video to your friends, family, cousins, whoever, is really dealing with some things around, this death and the aftermath of it, right? So I'm going to So what I normally do with this show, because it's a live podcast, is I'll pause for 3 seconds. We'll start the podcast. And then at the end, I'll pause for another 3 seconds. And then on tonight, we're probably going to go long. And I normally have kind of like a Q&A, open dialogue. So what I'll say tonight is if you have a question or a comment, you can post it. I will bring it in if it's pertinent to what we're talking about. But we just want to go ahead and just do the show, and we'll just organically, add questions in as needed. So let's get started. Stand by. Welcome to another episode of the Relationship Gumbo Podcast. My name is Derek Jones, and I am your host. I'm a certified life coach, an engineer, a strategist, and a mental health advocate. And tonight we have, a very important show. We're going to talk about what's going on. That's the title of the show. What's going on? There's a lot of things going around the world right now. 2020 has been kind of crazy up to this point for a lot of reasons. But right now we just got to really get into the racism, the police brutality, the emotions, the trauma, and the solutions, right? We always, on this show, we identify the problem, but we also try to give you possible solutions. So we want to do that as well. We just don't always want to talk about, the anger. We want to talk about how you get to a point where we get to healing and change. So I have a panel of guests here, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. They're just going to briefly tell you why this is important to discuss this tonight. So stand by. Let me get them up here. All right. So I'm going to go one by one. Everybody that's on the panel, just let us know who you are. If you have, a designation of something that you do or a title, you can say that if you want to, or if not, and just let people know why you think it's important to do this discussion tonight. So we'll start with Michelle Ford.
Hello, I am Michelle Ford. I'm also known as that MF. I'm a longtime IT professional, now doing crisis management with a small health and wellness business that I'm growing. I am the mother of two beautiful, talented, and very intelligent teenage daughters, 17 years old. They're twins, so don't try to figure out both of them being 17 years old. And it's just very important for me to be here as a mother to two Black daughters that are seeing this go on today. It's just I'm a little all over the place because I'm pissed, I'm frustrated, I haven't been sleeping, and I'm just honored to be a part of the panel. We hate talking about it, but we need to continue talking about it. So I'm very glad to be here.
Right. Thank you, Michelle. Next, we have Jermaine Norman.
Thank you, Jermaine Norman, educator, social activist, I guess, if you want to say, for lack of a better word. I think there's a conversation that we need to have within our community and with other communities about how we are dealing with each other. So, father of three, 2 girls and 1 boy, teachers of many people of color. And so definitely want to try to leave this place in a better condition than what we found it.
Absolutely. Next, we have Mr. Derek Cooper.
Again, thank you guys. My name is Derek Cooper. I'm a licensed graduate professional counselor, also an addictions counselor as well too in PG County. I've had a lot of mixed emotions about a lot of this and trying to do therapy with the youth. I have a lot of Black boys that I work with on a regular basis, and just kind of seeing the reactions to this, it's been difficult to watch and trying to help them process along with the parents as well too. So, there's a lot we can talk about in here, and I look forward to the conversation that we have and the solutions we come up with.
Right. Yes, sir. All right, Tasha, your girl, Tasha.
Hey, so yes, it's your girl, Tasha. My favorite word is bam, because I'm always being authentically me. I am a single mother with a 25-year-old son and a 20-year-old daughter. Who actually is attending a PWI school down in Oklahoma. So, it's passionate to me because I'm seeing our young people step up. Even before the situation with George Floyd, I'm seeing them step up. My child, being from the DMV down in Oklahoma, she's combating racism face to face every day. And I see through her that there are things that's going on to make change. And my thing is this, as a generation, an older generation, we can't let the youngest outdo us. So we got to get involved.
Right. Exactly. All right. Mr. Kent Logan, a.k.a. Cuz.
What's up, Cuzzo? Yeah, man, my name's Kent. I'm a truck driver. You know what I mean? We talk a lot about Black history, you know what I'm saying, with the different groups that I deal with. We do other YouTube shows and stuff like that. And I have 3 sons. That's why this topic is pretty important to me, because I remember getting harassed by the police when I was younger. And I hate to admit it, but I feel like, the way the climate is in this country, they're going to be going through it too when they get a little older. So, but I believe that we got to make decisions and solutions based on things that work, and that's not going to put us further in danger to lose our lives and stuff. So,
right.
But that's
okay.
much.
So this is what we're going to do first, because I just want, like I said at the top of the show, I just want organic reactions. So the first thing, and Michelle kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want you each to explain how I'm kind of remiss about saying how the murder of Mr. Floyd affects you, as more as the whole scope of everything that we're dealing with now with the aftermath, and how emotionally, like, some of the things that you've gone through from the point that you saw the murder all the way up to now, like what kind of things have you gone through emotionally? Like, how is it affecting you, and what is the connective tissue that kind of hits you right here in the chest? Like, what is the thing? Is it something that you dealt with in the past that kind of triggered you? Is it the fact that it's happening so often? What's the trigger that kind of hits you the hardest in the chest? So we'll start with Michelle again. We'll do it in order. We'll do Michelle again.
Okay, so you pretty much said it. It's happening far too often, and let's just be honest about it. I don't even think so much that it's happening more. It's just that now with social media and people with cameras and people are recording, I don't necessarily think it's happening more. I think we're just seeing it more. It's just being exposed more because we're just in an age where, we're in that technical age where someone can just whip out a phone and there it is, right on your social media page. So, but I mean, really, I feel like someone physically just beat the hell out of me. Like I'm drained. I'm tired. I haven't been sleeping. And when you said like hit you in the chest, I literally feel like there is a weight on my heart. Like my chest has been tight. I've been anxious. Um, it just all over the place. Even just in me talking about it, you'll see I'm just kind of
Right.
a little, I don't want to say erratic, but I don't even know where to start and where to kind of, it's just so many just aspects. And I'm really pissed because some people just still don't get it.
Right.
There are still people saying, why are you so upset? And like I said earlier on a live that Tasha did, Stevie Wonder can see why the hell we're so upset. Like, just, are you looking? Are you listening? Are you watching? You know, so I'm tired of those discussions of trying to explain why we're upset when it should be very, if you can see and hear and can feel, have any feelings, it's just a right or wrong situation. It doesn't matter the color, it's right or wrong. I don't care what your beliefs are politically. I don't care what you feel. It's very blatant and obvious. And I'm pissed about it. And I'm gonna try not to curse on your show tonight, but I'm pissed off.
You have
I'm
a
pissed
pass
off,
tonight.
okay?
You have a pass tonight, Michelle. I'm gonna give you a pass tonight.
Oh, thank you. You might be
Just
sorry
don't
later.
make it
Thank
every other word, and we good.
you. Okay.
All right, Jermaine. Tell us how this has affected you and how the emotions and the feelings that you've had since this has happened.
Numb. That's it. Numb. I
Yeah.
just think like, this is relationship gumbo. As a black man, I think the thing that really got me emotional was, and I'm just gonna be real. Like, I feel like as a black man, sometimes our own community don't understand what we go through as men. I think we go through things collectively as men and women, but it's another level for us as men. And I think the narrative was, you can see the narrative going left or right, whatever direction. It wasn't staying true to what it needed to be. And I think that frustrated me more than anything. So for me, I just started to share different types of posts about different experiences as a black male, so people can understand what we go through. I think everybody on this panel can understand sometimes when you feel like someone has offended you and you try to confront them about the offense and they act like they don't know what you're talking about, or they won't acknowledge the offense and try to make you seem like you crazy, which frustrates you more. I think that's really what most African Americans are feeling. It's like, yo, we've been trying to tell y'all for a minute about this racial disparity across the society, and y'all blow us off. And it's like, now some people getting it, and then some people still not getting it. And it's like, and there's some reasons for it, but again, it's a frustrating thing when people try to downplay or justify what has happened according to their ideological beliefs. So numb.
Right. I definitely could feel that. I think I'm buffering a little bit though. But go ahead, Derek Cooper. It looks like okay, it just recycled. Derek Cooper, go ahead. You're up.
So the way it's impacted me twofold. I'll start personally. It's been heavy overall, and kind of like what everyone's already said so far. Like, we've seen this so many times, like just through our lifetime. Like, it gets, sad to say, it gets old and it gets normalized, and it shouldn't be normalized because this keeps happening over and over again, and we really do want to push for change. But that drain feeling, that fatigue feeling, that feeling of, even for some people I've talked to, at least some type of helplessness as well too, because it feels like this is never going to change and this is the way life is going to be. And that's sad to watch. It's really sad to watch, and it's sad to even like feel and experience at the same time too. So going back to something Jermaine said as well too, like when you're trying to explain yourself and it feels like you're not being heard, and the person's trying to make you feel crazy, it's gaslighting, and that's like one of the biggest tools in an abusive relationship. Black people are in an abusive relationship with America, and that's just how it is, and it's a fight that we've gone through our entire lives for generations on top of generations. And it's I think we're just looking for some type of light and some type of relief through all of this. So on a professional level, what I've been trying to do and trying to spread the message of is just self-care and trying to help like each other. Been spreading a lot of news about Black owned businesses in the community, just little things like take breaks from social media, just kind of having conversations with different friends and different people, just so we can actually work on ourselves and not get so caught up in the hoopla of everything, because the media will twist things as well too, and news is running all day long, and it's frustrating and it depresses people as well. So we need to stay knowledgeable, but we also need breaks as well too.
Right. I definitely agree on that. Because guys, I'm an advocate for peace of mind, but it's hard to have that right now because I find myself just like a lot of us scrolling and just looking at all of the stuff that's going on, and then next thing you know, 30 minutes then pass by, and you get consumed by it because it's almost unbelievable in a way. It's like we're watching something that I think that there's kind of like pros and cons, but the overall thing is a lot of it, the stuff that's happening now, we've seen this before. We've seen Rodney King. We've seen, all of these different protests, and we've seen looting before. But it feels, it's almost like a compound. It's like like every time we do it, it almost kind of like it stacks itself over time every time it happens. So it's almost like each time it gets more and more explosive because it grows. And I think like now, those of us who've been here for a little while, it's a lot. Like it's too much. We've seen too much in our lives, and it's boiling over. And I find myself, and I'm gonna let you go in 1 second, Tasha. I find myself, let's do this. I'm gonna do me, and then we're gonna do Tasha real quick since I'm already talking. So for me, and I hate that we've become a society that we can just throw somebody dying up on social media and everybody kind of just can watch it like it's a reality show. But I feel two ways about it, because I feel like if we didn't see it, we wouldn't grasp the real, like the feels and the severity of it for us to get as upset and angry as we are to try to affect change. But for me, it was seeing it and then identifying with the scenario personally, like it could have been me, and then seeing the people out in the streets, the people that are kind of being interviewed, because what you watch on CNN and then the stuff that you see individuals putting on their social media is two different things. Like you get to really see like the front lines and how people are feeling. And I watch these videos and I'm watching the protesters. I'm watching the looters. I'm watching the police officers. And to see people in uniform crying, but they can't move because they don't want to lose their job. I know how that feels. We all know how that feels, right? Working somewhere and they don't really mess with you because you Black, but you got to pay your bills. And you just can't up and leave. That made me cry. I ain't gonna lie. When I saw that guy standing there and he was like, I want to kneel. I want to be with you. But and there was one officer that knelt down, and two of his officers came and yanked him right back up. Like, you're not going to do that. And he had to eventually conform. It's a word I hate. Conform. Comfort. We live our lives in some way, shape, or form to try to make them comfortable. And that hurts. And people don't understand when you do that every day. It's like living in a cage. And when we see these things happen, like the police brutality, it's like ripping off the scab again and again. But it's not just that day. It's all the years of your life that you felt like you had to be in that box. And the one thing that you shouldn't have to worry about is the people that's sworn to take care of you and help you. That's why this hurts so much. And that's how, like, my emotions come from that. It comes from knowing that I've lived my whole life trying to navigate this thing, knowing that like we all got, I don't know about the ladies, but the men, I know all the men got a police story somewhere, somehow. And we all got it. And I know the ladies probably had their own stories, but for men, it's that thing is scary. And I always consider myself, you know, the nerd and the geek, and I'm not the one. I'm not dressed a certain way. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. They don't care. And that's what people don't realize. They're like, comply. And I'm like, I did comply. So Tasha, you're up.
I'm just sick of the bullshit. That's it. That's all I can say. I mean, I done gone through a lot of emotions. You know, when it first happened, you saw the Facebook on my page while I was at work. I had to close my door. I thought that I was listening to a gospel song, these Korean brothers singing a song, and I thought it was lifting the weight off of me, because that day I was just bummed the first whole day. And before it was over, I was listening to the gospel and I was cussing. So I'm just sick of the bullshit.
Yeah, that's as real as it gets. Kent?
Yeah, man. I feel like what Jermaine said, man, just numb to it at this point. Like every year seems like it's a new face. It's a new teen. It's a new, you know what I'm saying, man. And got choked out and got shot in the back. You know, in Charleston, they had Walter Scott. You know, I mean, it's like, and then as a youngin', you know, we used to get pulled over for no reason, like 2 or 3 times a week. And wouldn't even give a warning, nothing, wouldn't give us their names or nothing like that. So it's like, I don't even like to watch the videos no more. Like I see, you know, somebody say something and I see it, I scroll by and won't even look at it because I done seen so much of it that it's just like, I don't want it to do that to me no more. Like you said, peace of mind or whatever. So I just I try to avoid looking at it, but you can't avoid it because it needs to be addressed at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
yeah, I just be feeling like we gotta do something that's gonna work. Though, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
But
and we're gonna get to the solutions in a little bit. But the second thing I want to talk about, and I see a comment in here from Facebook, from Kathy. I don't want to mispronounce the last name. Shaliga. Oh, my bad. Okay, you know. I knew I was gonna butcher it. So
that's one of my peeps.
So we're gonna go into now about what we're really seeing on TV every day now is the protesting / looting / rioting. So what she said was, and how I'm going to segue into it is, she says she doesn't understand the looting, the burnings, or the destruction. So if you don't have anything to say about it, cool. But who wants to take that question on about understanding the looting, burnings, or destruction? All right, Derek Cooper, and then Jermaine.
So my take on it is a couple things. One, people are very angry and they're unheard. And when people get to a point where they haven't been heard in a very long time, they lash out and act out. And is it the right thing to do? I can't make that call. I don't know. But when people get mad, they do things. So I think that's one side of it. The other side is, I think the people doing the looting, it has been up for question for like a while now. And I think the media and then social media kind of show you two different sides of it. A lot of it isn't the peaceful protesters. It's other people coming and doing that looting and doing that kind of stuff in the communities as well, too. So the completely, I'm not saying Kathy's doing this at all, but I've seen a lot of people have blamed it on Black Lives Matter when peaceful protests have been happening. You've seen videos of like police officers like breaking buildings and breaking glasses and burning things, and other random people that said they aren't even a part of the actual protest coming in and just doing stuff. So it gets misconstrued as like, you know, the people doing this for whatever reason, but no, they're just mad. If they are doing that, they're just really mad about what's really going on, and you can't keep Black people down for this long and this silence for this long, because we are going to fight back. It's in our nature to fight. We're very resilient people. So that's my answer.
Absolutely. Jermaine?
So what I would say to people is simply this. One of the key foundational pieces in America is ownership. You know, that's the thing, is ownership. If you look on YouTube, there's a video, it's about 6 minutes. It's called Wealth Distribution in America. And I believe the video says that the top 20% of wealthy people own 93% of the wealth in America. And so you got 93% of us fighting over 8%. And so what you have is an unequal distribution of wealth across this nation. And so when people are looting, that stuff don't matter because it's not theirs. They don't own anything. The majority of us don't own anything, right? And so when you participate in a system that gives you the semblance of participation in the game, but the reality is you're not going to win, and then there is this social and political injustice, then the looting and the riot is trying to hit them in their pocket. You're going to take Robin Hood principle. All of those things become a part of it. On top of the fact that you have other agendas. So you have left-wing and right-wing political agendas that are using this to push their agenda forward as well. So that's also, again, to discredit the movement, in my opinion. So you got some right-wing, some left-wing radical groups that are infiltrating. They were talking about how all of a sudden all these pallets of bricks just start showing up everywhere, all around the cities. Out of nowhere, people with certain masks was going to certain places. One dude may have been a police officer or what have you. So I just think the basic premise is this. If a society is a group of people who agree to live together under a set of rules, but when those rules aren't working for everyone, and then there's no redress for the disparity, then you're going to hit those people where it hurt. And that's where the looting comes from, because I'm already being taken advantage of. So why not? And again, I don't personally agree with it, but I understand on a global scale what that is.
Right. So Michelle and then Kent.
So Derek and Jermaine, you hit, I mean, I wrote down the bricks. You hit that. Derek, you started that part of the conversation where who's really instigating that side of the protesting, you know? And I was going to mention just bricks just showing up, you know, they're setting us up, okay? And again, I understand, but don't go to the extreme that you're losing the message, you know. And I did a live where I talked about, there was the guy that took the video. He stole the damn police horse, and he's galloping along with the video. Ha ha! Oh, I stole the police horse. F it, you know. And I'm like, what are you doing, you know? And they stole the little train tram out the mall, and they're riding down the street, you know, like it's a joke, you know. And I get the anger, and I get that we're not being heard, but don't ruin it by doing these things that are going to make it people not take the anger seriously, you know, because they're going to focus on that. Everyone else that's peacefully protesting, even the people that are not so peaceful, but they're not hurting anyone or damaging anything, but they're angry, they're going to take that one incident and make it about that. The same way they took Colin kneeling and made it about the flag and the song, and it had nothing to do with that, they're gonna say, "Oh my God, look at these people! They're stealing the police forces. They're doing this. They're not gonna. They're gonna take the focus off the mass that's out there for the right reasons, doing the right things, and they're gonna zero in on those little isolated things and make it seem like a joke, because there are people that are making it look like a joke." So that's my opinion on that. Like Jermaine said, I do understand it. The people that are angry, but I don't understand all this extra stuff that's just making it look like a joke, a mockery. Stay home. If you're just out here to look like a damn fool, stay home. Because you're not helping.
Yeah. Kent?
Yeah, a few things, man. I definitely like you said, understand how they feel. Everybody's mad about the situation. Another black man dead by the hands of police, or just another black man dead, man or woman. I disagree with the looting, because it's like shooting ourselves in the foot. Even the riots, to me, at this point in time, because it's like you got, I would say you burned down the Target, right? Half of us work in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got black people who work in there and actually do jobs to support their families. You know what I'm saying? Like, now you just put another black person out of work. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they can go somewhere else and work, but they were working there. You know what I'm saying? Then you got, this virus thing that's going on. We ain't fully recovered from that. People gathering. That's been my whole thing from the jump. It's like, okay, I understand we mad, we angry, but we have to also be intelligent. And this virus is killing black people more than it's killing anybody. So we're saying Black Lives Matter, but we're gathering and we're putting ourselves in danger at the same time. Looting, rioting, protesting. Like I said, I agree, we have a very good reason to do this, but it just, at this point in time, it's like we got to think of a better plan or a better way to organize this thing or something like that.
Right. I have my comments, but I want to defer to Tasha if you have something or not.
Well, you know what? What was it, Kathy? Eventually, you just get tired. It's like a pipe that, the heat is in it, and eventually it's just going to explode. When you have people that are level-headed, because I'm not saying that I agree with it either, but I tell you what, I found myself this time saying some of that stuff, cool. You burned down the police department, cool. Even though I understand that it's in the community, and if it's that lady that's being beat by her husband for domestic violence and she has to call the police, they may not get there because the police station is more gone, but still it's further away. But I'm like, cool at a certain point. And I haven't had that position where I understand some of the people, some of it is part of mental illness too. They don't have any other way to take it, express themselves. But now I find myself, the person's been like, what, that's just wrong. Then now I'm like, I'm kind of okay with some of it. If you keep beating a dead horse, how else are you supposed to respond in some cases? And
Right.
Some people haven't been taught or given the tools to be able to do it in a positive manner. And I don't know, who was it? Oh, the young lady. If y'all saw I don't know her name, but she was saying, hey, white America, you taught us to be violent. You taught us not how to talk to people. You taught us to steal and loot. You were the first looters. Girlfriend was powerful in that. So at a certain point, when you keep what somebody said in the comment, capping it, try to do it the right way, okay? And you still made a mockery of it. Well, guess what? You got something to really look at right now.
Yep. 1 second. Tamika Mallory is the lady's name. So my commentary on this is, and then we're going to move to the next topic. And seeing all of this stuff every day, and the way that my brain thinks, I always try to dissect the why, and I try to dissect the different pieces of it. And so, just to piggyback off of Tasha talking about Colin Kaepernick, earlier in this episode, I talked about conforming. and making people feel comfortable. And even though what Colin did was a peaceful way to do it, they couldn't control it. So they wanted him to make them comfortable and do it the way they wanted to do it. And that's a lot of times the Black experience. So when you see the anger, when you see the frustration, people are tired of conforming. And the second point I want to make is I see a lot of people online saying this statement. Why are they so up in arms off of something that one person did? Why is it such this big thing because of one person? And I say again, you have to realize that's one of thousands and thousands of things that have happened that are not even on camera, that are a part of our culture. This is a part of who we are. We know what it feels like. If you don't know what it feels like personally as a Black person, someone in your family, a cousin, an aunt, an uncle has felt this. This is all the time. So when you see this blow up, to Tasha's point, that pipe is going to burst. It's not just rest in peace, George Floyd, but it's not just about him. It's about him in the moment, but a lifetime worth of pain is coming out now because we now can see it. And the fortunate thing about social media is we have voices now. Before, our voices were silenced. Shut up, stay in your place. You know, we have family members, and I know it's probably going to recycle. I'm probably buffering, but I'm going to keep talking and hopefully it'll catch up. We have been taught as a protection measure to say, that's not going to work. Don't go over there and confront that person because you know how it's going to end. Stay in your place. So when you see the looting, when you see the rioting, there's a big population of us that hate it. But to Jermaine's point, we understand the why. And you also have to look at it like this. Doing it quietly and calm has never worked for us. And as much as the looting, like we all on this panel don't agree with the looting, but they paying attention. When they see those fires, they paying attention. And now you're starting to see people who normally didn't get it. They out there on the front line, standing in front of the crowd saying, I don't want you to touch them. We here. We didn't see this before. I'm not saying they get it, but I'm saying the tides are starting to shift. And unfortunately, we might have to go through 6 or 7 more of these before they get it. Maybe 200 of them. But we're getting to see it now. We're getting to see it. We're getting to see parts of it that probably would have never happened if we wasn't in the age of social media and camera phones. So it means more. And we would have probably never get all of those different angles of the incident. We probably wouldn't be able to hold these people to account if we didn't have people that was at the ready to film it. And people criticize them. Well, why didn't you jump in and beat the police officer up? We all know what that means. If you do that, you're going to be dead too. So I'm glad that they didn't. And I'm glad that they filmed it. And the last point I want to make before we transition is what you see on TV in those crowds is multi-layered. To Derek's point, to Jermaine's point, to Michelle's point, it's not one crowd with one purpose. It's one crowd with different factions. And the media will make you think that they all have the same purpose. You have peaceful protesters. You have looters. You have undercover cops, you know, like they were saying, putting bricks out so that the opportunists can come and pick up the brick. They don't have to look for nothing to crack the window. So that the optics in mainstream media looks like everybody's crazy because they're going to focus on the brick throwers. They're going to focus on somebody breaking into the Gucci store. You got people that are just straight opportunists. They only coming out the house to get clothes. But that's not the majority of people who are out there. But that's what they focus on so that people can ask the question, what the hell are they doing breaking into Gucci? That takes away from the point. Like, why are they doing it? That's not the heart of this cause. These people are opportunists. And if you actually look at the video, most of the people that's starting this stuff don't even look like us. But they'll make you believe that. Once again, thank God for camera phones. Because if we didn't have the camera phones, they'd have open license to bring in whatever kind of, they're already doing it. Martial law, curfews. Look at those folks with that brown skin. They crazy. They breaking into everything. Now we know that some of these influencers and people are coming from the outside, and most of those people are from different states. They're not even from there. They get to go home while the Gucci and all these other stores and the mom and pop stores, and people are saying, why are you breaking into small mom and pop stores and all of this? You know that when you get mad, if you get mad enough, sometimes you black out. You don't even care what store it is. You just want to let it off. I don't condone it. None of us do. But to a point, I understand. But then you also got to look at opportunists. Can't forget about people who are just there to break into stuff and go home. And when you look at it in context, you can't say, why are they looting? You have to say, why are the looters looting? Why are the window breakers breaking windows? Because that's not the protesters. And to Jermaine's point, when people don't have money and they broke, and you standing outside as a protester and you see a grocery store open or a bank open or a clothing store open, human nature takes over. I lost my job and I haven't worked in 2 months. Now I have an opportunity to grab a bunch of clothes and resell them. I'm not saying I condone it, but broken people will do things. If it's staring you in the face, you might just do it. It's the same scenario if you saw $100 bill on the ground. Are you going to put it in your pocket? Or are you going to run around and ask 1,000 people, is it theirs? It's human nature, unfortunately. So I don't condone it, but I guarantee you throughout it all that people are seeing it. When you look at Australia and France and everybody's outside like we're with you. Y'all know we haven't seen this before. This is huge. And now that the spotlight is on it, we're going to talk about solutions. But before we do that, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, police brutality. And what I want to do right before we do that is I'm going to get Derek Cooper to talk about how all of this affects our minds and how it traumatizes us, and how do we, on the other side of all of the flash and the bang and the rioting, at some point it's going to quiet down. What do we look like on the other side of that mentally, and how can we kind of, what kind of things can we look at behavior wise that says maybe this affected me more than I thought?
Yeah. That's a question I was having with a lot of other mental health professionals, like just dealing with the pandemic in itself. And it's like, what is mental health? How are people going to interact? Like, what is the social makeup going to be once, outside opens back up? And with this thrown on top of it, I wrote down two words, and it was generational trauma and then exposure to trauma. And that generational trauma, like, I don't think I have to explain it to anybody on this panel. I think we all kind of get it already. And I think that gets kicked up another notch. Like you can see, like with the protests and everything, people have pretty much thrown the pandemic out the window and be like, no, like this this is like, the priority at the moment. If COVID gets me, I'll deal with that later. I feel like after, not even really after, I feel like what's gonna happen with a lot of people is gonna, I don't think it goes away this time. I feel like people stay upset. I feel like people stay mad, and I feel like they stay on the ground with all of this. Honestly, this time I feel like something's different. Just like you said, Derek, I feel like something's different this time around. I feel like there's a shift happening, and this exposure to trauma has really taken a large impact. And I bring that up, and I'll tell you guys a small story. I have a 13-year-old kid, and I talked to him yesterday, and he was one of my clients is 13 years old, not my kid. And we were talking about everything that happened, and he comes to me and says, like, what did Black people do to white people to make them so mad? I just sat back. I was like, I don't know how to answer that question. And it hurt to not be able to answer that question for him, because I'm like, dude, if we knew the answer to that, we'd be able to solve so many things going on. But I can already see it starting to impact him a little bit more. And he has, like, Caucasian friends, and he's still trying to wrap his mind around, like, what did I do wrong? And it's like, no, like him and his, like me and his mom were both telling him, like, you didn't do anything wrong. It's not you. You're perfect the way you are. You are a wonderful, unique Black boy, and it's not on you. And it's hard to get a kid to understand that. With the adults and just with other people, period, like, I've just seen different people go either like numb, they get desensitized, and it's just another day. People kind of blowing it off as well too. But the thing we all forget, and Derek, the point you were trying to get to as well is, emotions need an outlet. And I think everyone feels something out of this situation, whether it's being mad, whether it's being sad, indifferent. Indifferent is still an emotion. And I feel like when we don't have a place to put that emotion, you start seeing erratic behavior from people in different types of ways. And it comes out very negatively because we don't know what to do with that. So my big thing has been with people, like, just making sure that their emotions are well placed and they're doing something with it. I've advocated, like, writing down your emotions, talking to people, getting in groups of support groups to talk to people. Get a therapist, like whatever you have to do in times like this, just to talk to somebody and get it out of your system is the most beneficial thing you can do. So you're not sitting on this anger, the sadness, the bag of just emotions that you can feel at a time like this, because it can lead to that internal explosion and destroying your own mental health.
Yeah, that's huge. And well, first of all, does anybody else want to talk about anything related to trauma, mental health? Tasha?
You know what? I don't know if it's a part of some type of mental health that's being impacted, but when you brought it up, even before George Floyd, I shared with you, Derek, that I had a situation here at the house where my daughter had brought home a 23-year-old Black man to our home. And he did some really crazy stuff because he came upstairs, being in our house the second time, came upstairs to my bedroom with his pants unbuttoned. This was just in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And my daughter thought he had went to the bathroom. Well, Mama had to pull a knife to get him about this house. But this is the thing. Where it went to when it comes to police brutality or what you're going to do, my initial feel is like, this MF, and it's not Michelle Ford, is crazy. But do I call the police and make them aware of it? Or do I just give him the chance to understand, you won't get worse than me pulling a butcher knife on you because I will cut you. Okay? But I didn't want to call the police, although I got all of his information as well from case search. I decided against going to get like a peace order or something and putting something on his record in addition to it, because of my thoughts about what could possibly happen depending on which police officer shows up at that young man's door. And then my man, me and him were talking, the same type of situation was with him. There's some kids in the neighborhood that the guys get in the car and they sit on the side of the street, and one of his neighbors came up, was like, we should call the police on them. But he was like, no, I'm not seeing them doing anything wrong, but they're always there. But if we call the police on them, it's 4 young black men in a car late at night. What could possibly happen worse than allowing them to sit there where we're not seeing? They could be doing something. You know, it's not only just sometimes when white people see black males that they're on edge. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna put it out there. Sometimes as a black person, I see some black males and I'm on edge. Okay, so because you're on edge, that's not a reason to call them, because you don't know who's going to show up. So is that a form of mental illness? How it's impacting you to have to fight back and forth with you with logic? Protect my daughter, but protect my black male that I know is being hunted and killed down too.
Did you want to touch on that a little bit, Derek?
Yeah. How can I put this into words? On the other side of it, I'm not sure, but I know for us it's PTSD, because we don't want to cause something like that to happen again. And I feel like the word PTSD gets misconstrued. Like, you know, only soldiers can get it, only police officers can get it. Like, no, like, we're honestly, black people are probably the most people with PTSD more than any other group out here. So I think that anxiety and that feeling that we get is like, you know, okay, like, what do I do in a situation? How do I protect myself, protect my kid? And like, you know, the common answer would be like, okay, let's call the police so they can handle it, but we also don't trust them either. So now we're stuck in like this middle ground, this kind of purgatory feeling. Is like, okay, like, can I police myself? And then we find ourselves in situations like you, Tasha, and it's like, okay, like, I'm not going to call the police, but here's a knife, which can also escalate and lead to another situation too. But you feel like you have to do that because you don't trust the other side.
Right. So this is what I'm going to do now. We're going to talk about, and that's a good segue, actually, Tasha. We're going to talk about, I don't necessarily want to say police brutality, more so as our relationship to law enforcement. The negative relationship we have to law enforcement sometimes, you know, even if we haven't necessarily personally experienced something, we know what it means. Like Tasha was saying, we know what that means. We've seen it time and time again. And you get nervous, you get scared. Like, you know, we always hear about people talking about when they see those lights behind their car, you know, you might have been going 2 miles an hour over the speed limit and you get jittery because you don't know what's going to happen when you get stopped. Right. I'm gonna use my one curse word for the night. I'm a grown ass man and I still get jittery as hell because I don't know what, you know, it's not even about thinking immediately that I may not make it home. It's what are they going to possibly make up to say that I did, that I didn't do? And what's the outcome of that? It may be death. It may be me going to jail. It may be whatever it is. It's almost kind of like they, you know, like I had to tell this police officer, because he was like, do you think I would just stop you just for going 5 miles over? And I said to him, you got the authority to kind of say whatever the hell you want. I know what I was doing, but you technically can do what the hell you want. And no one would ever believe me, right? Catch that last part. We feel like even in a situation where we're right, we won't be believed. So we have to think about the worst case scenario up front. Most people think about the worst case. When the worst case happens, we got to almost project it out and say, wait. I gotta, dang, that's a good little pun. I didn't mean to do that on purpose, but wait. And then hopefully you can make it home. And so anybody wanted to, so I'm gonna save you for last, Jermaine, because I'm gonna use you as the segue into the solutions. But Michelle has a point.
Okay, I'll make it if I can get the thing to the daggone unmute. But I was just writing down things as you were speaking, and one of the things I wrote down as you kind of right before you said it was, when we see those lights, when we know we have to engage, we prepare for the worst and hope for the best. It's not the opposite, you know. Um, and It's just and when we think of brutality, and you said this, Derek, you know, we think of the physical, but like you just said, it's not even just am I going to physically be beaten or dragged or die, but I mean, are they just looking for someone to pin something on? You know, on our panel on Saturday, I had on my Central Park Five, who now are the exonerated five shirt. Look what happened to them. And this was in 89, and that is still happening. They will take you, pin it on you, you're the scapegoat. And how many people, even in recent times, have we seen men recently getting released and pardoned after 37 years for things that they were innocent of and that they did not do? So the brutality is not just physical. You know, our sentences are harsher for the same crimes that people that are not black. You know, we're getting, you know, our convictions are way harsher. Okay, we're doing more time for, you know, even when we are guilty and we have committed crimes, we're getting sentenced to harsher sentences because we're black. I'm just gonna say it, because we're black. Okay. And I mean, let me tell you, I hate to say this, you know, we comply and we still are killed, you know. And I am so like I'm trying to get emotional. I'm so afraid for y'all. Okay. I'm afraid for us because they're killing us too. But I'm super afraid for you all because the very things that we look to as strengthen you. And I'm gonna kind of lean on physical things now because there are a lot of things that make you as men, you know, strong to us outside of your physical. But you know, the color of your skin. You could be a tall man, a man with some that's solid with a build, and we look at that like, I know I look at it like that. But you know, a police officer will immediately say, "Oh, I drew on him because I was threatened. Look at him. He's tall. He's big. You know, I was threatened. He was a threat to me. He was aggressive." And a question that I have too, and this is just a very sincere and genuine question when it comes to training of police officers. Is there something in their training that focuses on just natural human reaction? If you're grabbing at me aggressively, my natural human reaction, I'm not necessarily resisting arrest, but if you're hurting me or choking me, my natural reaction is going to be like, I can't, you know. So is there something that is in the training that trains them like, okay, if you have to use some force, there's going to be a natural, you know, reaction of defense. That doesn't mean they're resisting, but where's that line drawn? Is there room for that? You know, I put up a video recently, but I think the footage was taken back in March. And I believe the young lady recording was the sister of the man that was being pulled over, that was outside. This man is standing like this. He's not moving, he's complying. He's standing like this. One of the officers comes up behind him, and when I say he kicks him in the back, I'm not talking about like a little kick. He literally takes his foot up. I don't have no socks and shoes on, y'all, and kicks him in the back. And he lunges forward, and of course he didn't know that was happening, so his natural reaction was to kind of turn and, you know, and then they just take him down, almost like they were trying to find a reason. Here's a black man complying. We have to find a reason so that we can take him down, or say he tried to attack us, or whatever. So we just need to. I don't know. I don't know. Is there something just in natural human reaction that they are trained on? Because I'm gonna tell you, you come up behind me and you get to grabbing on me aggressively, my natural reaction is gonna be to release myself from pain. And you know, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a small point. Well, let me read a couple of the comments. But while I'm looking at this, my point is real quick. people, and you know, I'm a sucker for going down in the comments and seeing people's reactions to stuff sometimes. And people will say, if they didn't resist, nothing would have happened. And there's people out here that resist just for resisting's sake. But you also, to Michelle's point, it's not, in a lot of cases, it's not resisting as much as it is, I don't trust you. I don't trust you to do what you're trained to do, because whether it's what I've seen or experienced personally, I don't trust you to do the right thing. So when you start grabbing me, the last time I saw somebody get grabbed, they died. The last time I saw somebody get grabbed, their arm got broke. I don't want that to happen to me. So I'm gonna try to keep myself safe. But while I'm doing that, that cop looks at me as resisting, and now they have to do something. And I'm going to say this too. This is not an indictment to all cops tonight. We're not talking about we hate all cops. I have friends that are cops. What I'm saying is there's a culture, there's a fraternity, there's a blue line that a lot of, not all, but there's a lot of police who stand by that. Even good police stand by that. And when we have to see that line, that they have to kind of hold that line on a regular basis, it doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies about dealing with you and complying in the way that you need me to sometimes. And I know if I feel like that and I'm like, you know, the apple pie guy, what about somebody that don't have nothing to lose and they just want to protect themselves and they're gonna wild out because they don't know any other way. And then it becomes a thing, and it'll be another hashtag that we got to do because they was just trying to protect themselves. And I'm not excusing criminal behavior. I'm saying a lot of times it's not that. It's a natural reflex, especially when you know you didn't do anything wrong. Because I had about maybe 8 police officers surround me when I was in my 20s, and it was like 3 or 4 of us in the car. We was coming back, and we was in a certain area. If you're from the DMV, like near American University, and they just felt like we didn't belong. They surrounded the car. They wanted us to get out the car, right? And we know now, you know, there's no probable cause, but they wanted to flex. And I was like, why are all of these cops here? I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Like, I'm so naive. I'm like, what do y'all do? What is this? And they was just like, don't worry about them. Those are my friends. That thing could have went another way. Now that I think about it, and that's light compared to what a lot of people have gone through. So I'm gonna leave it there. Did you have something, Kent? I thought I saw your hand.
Yeah, you know, I feel like it's been an image projected of us as Black men. It's been a propaganda that's out there that we just dangerous people. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you get pulled over and you like, damn, did I do something wrong? Like you didn't even do nothing wrong, but you kind of start having that feeling like guilt that you did something that you didn't even do. So it's mentally is kind of messed up or whatever. And then like how we look to other people, we could be doctors or you know, I think my man was a therapist or something like that. Like, but somebody out the street look at you or whatever, and they like, oh, I don't want to get too close to him. He dark skinned. He might, you know, that's how the thugs look. So it's a propaganda, man, an image that's been portrayed of us out there that I think is making people think that we are threatened or something like that. That's how I feel about it.
Okay, so I'm gonna do the comments and then we're gonna get to you, Jermaine. So 1 second here. So Alicia said her worst interaction was from a Black cop with my mother in the car within the last year. Joseph Going says, when you've had cops put you on the hood of your mama's car because you fit the description or be the only person to ever wave a gun in your face, hell yeah, you're going to get jittery when you see a vehicle which even remotely resembles a squad car. And that's part of that you know, trauma and that PTSD of just feeling that. Like once you've had a couple, even just a couple of experiences, it changes you. It changes you for the rest of your life. And you gotta, you know, it's hard. It's hard when like we just talked about, when you see those lights, you don't know what's gonna happen, and it starts triggering those memories of what has happened. And in tandem, especially now, we can see all this stuff on social media. You seeing all of these different people flash before your eyes, like what if this happens? And so you immediately go into 10 and 2, but then you're like, I'm on 10 and 2, but what else could he think I'm doing? Okay, what do I have my license? Oh, dang, it's in the glove compartment. Okay, so, and you got to go through all of this.
Can't even reach the glove department because they're gonna think.
Yeah, I just saw a video called Groundhog Day for a Black Man, and it's like it's supposed to be like a comedic, but it's really not, because all of the scenarios in there, I was like, yep. I can identify with all of that, because every time he woke up, he had to replay the day. So the day before, they could have been like, can you get your license? And he had to reach for it, and then they shot him. And then the next day, he was like, okay, I'm in the same scenario. Let me have my license out the window. And he had his license out the window, and the police came up, and he was like, I need to see your registration too. So he's like, and then he got killed again. The next day, it was like, he had the license and the registration, and he was like, do you have a firearm in the car? He was like, I have a legal firearm, but it's in the glove compartment. Can you show it to me, sir? And he was like, I'm not doing that. Boom. And every time he thought that he could kind of predict what was going to happen, nothing worked. And so what my mind went was, I can identify with that. Most Black people can identify with trying to do whatever you thought could make them feel more comfortable. There that is again. And it still don't work. And so even though it was supposed to be a comedy, I was like, damn, that I don't know. But anyway, I just went to a place. Let me finish this. So Joseph also says it's an insidious cycle of fear which can contribute to a myriad of physical and psychological health issues due to the trauma of surviving under the influence of Blackness. Alicia says, if there are consequences, I think they would think twice. If they can get away with it, they will keep doing it. So Jermaine, I got you. I know you got some stuff. So hold on one second. And then Joseph says, I hate that if he or she didn't resist, then nothing would have happened. Response, because it's tone deaf to the deeper seated psychological warfare behind the charge of resisting arrest. It's a power trip to discourage someone to challenge their authority. Right. It's a lot. Like, this whole topic is just a lot. And again, I preface to the listeners, don't ever get confused in thinking that this conversation, the anger, the emotions is just about 1 week or 2 weeks of things that you've seen on social media. That and I don't want to minimize George's death, but that's like a highlight reel of just a segment of what we're talking about. That's the thing that's the most popping thing on social media right now. And it feels like that's all we're talking about. It's not. It's so not. So Jermaine, what I want you to do is talk about, if you have anything to add about, police brutality, your relationship with police. And then I want you to segue into what you think the possible solution is for like police reform, or how we can kind of, start to try to shift the narrative. Uh-oh. Okay, there he is.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you good.
I'm good?
Yeah.
Okay. So, police brutality, I would just say, first, to Derek's point, I think a lot of us need therapy in the Black community, just based on some of the trauma we face over the years. I think that's something that we all need to look to go, as he said, self-care. I think that's something we need to do. I think I'm a teacher, so a lot of times when I deal with parents, there are these assumptions that are made as a parent about what teachers do, but because it may not be their job, they have an idea of what we do, but they don't know all of the intricate details of the job. And I say that to say, I remember Ferguson, when Ferguson first happened, I was a teacher, and one of my students, we were all upset. And the girl was like, well, why didn't the police officer just shoot him in the arm? Why didn't she shoot him in the leg? And so we had a police officer that, is stationed at our building. And so he happened to walk past my room, and I got him, and he came in. And one of the things he explained to us is that from police department to police department, they do not get the same training. They do not get the same equipment. Everyone doesn't have the same stuff. And so we are perceiving that if I go from Prince George's County to Montgomery County, they are following the same protocols. It's not the same. If I go from Prince George's County to DC, if I go from the DMV to Oklahoma or down south, he was saying that across the board, some counties and states don't have the funding in order to train their officers like other districts. And so for me, the other piece is this narrative of like the comment about the black officer mishandling them. This police brutality thing is across race, because as I forgot who said it, we all fall victim to the stereotypes of black people, even though we may be black in certain situations. And sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not. And so the quick answer is, I think that across the board, there should be some federal guidelines that govern how police interact with people. Like Stephen A. Smith said today, he was like, it should be a federal crime to kill people if you're a police officer. I think the federal government needs to enact some type of legislation to regulate policy and procedures for how police on the state and local level do what they do. And so I came up with something called the Police Bill of Rights. And part of that was talking to different police officers from different districts and them giving me insight into things that they don't have. Like every police department, all officers don't have body cameras. Those that do, sometimes they turn them off. But every district don't have the money to pay for cameras. Every district doesn't have tasers. Every district don't have billy clubs or different things of that nature. So one of the things that you have to do is train and equip these officers in a proper fashion. And then one videos was talking about it actually take longer to get your cosmetology license than it does to become a police officer. So they may need to look at that in terms of the training. I think there needs to be some sensitivity training. Like they talk about Jane Elliott. Jane Elliott, if you look Jane Elliott up on YouTube, she does the brown eye, blue eye experiment. And it's one of the videos where she did it with a police department. And it showed white and black that they had a predisposition towards people of color. So whether they were white or black, it was just they were afraid that they were going to get injured, hurt, or killed on the job. And so the police officer perspective was, I just want to make it home tonight. I don't want to be a statistic. So they're scared, but part of their fear may not be based on factual information. So I think that there needs to be a conversation. And again, I got to, not to belabor the point, but I just think it's some federal guidelines to give some standard procedures across the nation for police departments, I think will help. And then on a local level, I think people need to realize that anytime there's a police shooting and there's no prosecution, that's on the district attorney in that county and then the state's attorney in that state. So everyone needs to understand that those two positions are elected positions. And so if you don't know that, then that becomes incumbent upon us to figure out who they are and to hit them with a barrage of emails and concerns about why they're not doing what we believe they need to do. And if they're not doing the job, we need to find some people to run against them and vote them out.
Right. Exactly. So this is what I'm gonna do. Since I know all of you guys, I want you, Tasha, to tell people the importance of voting for your local, the local elections. And that, like, I don't want to necessarily, because my point goes into the importance of the local voting, and I know, Kent, you got some stuff too, because I pay attention to everybody's stuff. But I want you, Tasha, because I know you were an election judge yesterday, to tell people the importance of, I wasn't supposed to say that?
No, it wasn't that you wasn't supposed to say that. When you said it, my experience yesterday made me go through PTSD.
Oh, I know, it was horrendous. I heard horror stories from all sides.
Off the chain, too much. But the best illustration I could just think about is even today. There was a recent situation involving potential police brutality that happened, and I believe it was in Langley Park. And on the news immediately today, you had Angela Alsabrook, our county executive, and Aisha Braveboy, our state's attorney, standing together with their masks, speaking on it. And the officers, both officers and their supervisor, are all currently suspended. So, I'm just thinking that if we didn't take the time to elect those two ladies and put them in office that understand our community, and I'm not saying that just because they're Black is the reason why they understand our community, but they are in touch with our community and they are about taking care of business. That's what happens when you decide to go ahead and vote. Too many people think about voting from the aspect of who is in the White House, regardless of who is in the White House. And if y'all look at it right now, you see Michelle, I'll use your term again from out earlier, 45. He has things that he's trying to put into place, but there are local leaders. Look at the coronavirus. There are local leaders who have chosen to, no, my area is staying closed. You can do what you want. You can say what you want, but my area is staying closed. And that's just the power of having the vote for these people, because they impact you directly. So how do you go about just ignoring that? You have got to get out there and do that. It's just that simple.
Yeah. Anybody else want to chime in on that? Kent?
Yeah, I was going to say, I believe that's a very big way of how we solve this issue of getting the right people in office. Like my man was saying, getting somebody that could change the way police procedures go. Like they kill somebody in the line of duty, or they kill them unjustly. Their punishment should be like the most severe. Like nobody's gonna kill a cop because you get death penalty behind that. If you kill a Black man or any man for that matter, and it's not justified, then I think it should be just as severe for them. But as far as the voting goes, yeah, man, your local level, your councilman. Put those people in a position, put your money behind the people that's going to fight for you at the end of the day. And then we can worry about, if they make it back in that position or whatever, supporting Black businesses, entrepreneurship, educating the youth on financial literacy and politics, because for a long time, I wasn't even messing with politics. And then I just started kind of like getting back and wanting to get involved with it because it makes a difference. So.
Yeah. Tasha?
It just made me think about, too, some people don't realize you determine who your judges are. When you go in that courtroom and somebody has to sentence you there, you determine who your school board is. What are your children being taught in school? How are they being treated? How are we dealing with the school to prison pipeline? All those kind of things that go on. with the bail rates and stuff being unfair and unjust when it comes to Black people being in jail or white people being in jail and how much they're charged. And Oklahoma City, where my daughter is, she went to a rally there. She's like, Mom, did you know that Oklahoma City has the highest rate of females that are locked up in prison for low minor crimes? I mean, it's so much that's impacted by you voting. It's a responsibility. It's important too because we had so many people in our history that have died to give us the right to vote. And who are we? We want to sit out here and maybe talk about Black Lives Matter, but we'll be the same person that talk about Black Lives Matter be talking about, I'm not going to vote. I don't count. It don't make no difference. When people in the past had a different vision of also Black Lives Matter, Black people should have the right to vote. I mean, you're disrespecting what has been fought for us when you decide not to do this. And I'm not going to, anybody, we need to vote to make change and have the right people there, period, and hold them accountable. Some people, I've had people that I've interviewed on my show that use the Black card. Vote for me because I'm Black and I'm going to do this and do that for you. And one of the people, I ain't going to call his name, he's in your county, one of your senators, Derek. I talked to people I knew from him being on my show that he was just gaslighting people. And they've said that he hasn't done nothing since then. We need to watch that too. Black is not always right. I'm sorry.
Anybody else on that topic? Because the overall topic right now is solutions. Give 1 second. I'm gonna do a couple of comments here. Joseph Going says midterms. We have to also make sure we vote in the midterms. Many voters only come around every 4 years, but failing to show up for the midterms is exactly why we see the party shifts, which ultimately affect who becomes president. So, okay, Jermaine, I think I saw Michelle's hand too. I think y'all both did that. Oh, you didn't? Okay, cool. Jermaine.
So, and I know we run out of time, but I think the other part of this voting piece is, and even this whole issue is a plan. As a community, we now working together. So we're a bunch of individuals that are doing things individually when all of our counterparts often work in a collective. And they get things done because they work in a collective. And so what happens is that the Latino community works together, whatever community you want, the Indian community, Pakistani community, there are these groups that come and they work together, even if they disagree on certain ideological things, religion or whatever. Based on their culture, they'll say, we're going to work together to get this thing through, right? And so I think even when it comes to candidates, we don't know them because we don't have to know them. We're not even looking to put people up to run. So we're not even going in our community saying, hey, Kent, don't you want to run? Yo, you put a lot of posts up, this, that, and the other. Yo, won't you run for this seat? Let's help you. Yo, we think we should put Kent up. Or let's put Michelle up for this because of the stuff that she talks about on the show. We need to get her in that seat on the county board or the state board or whatever to affect some change for us. And so I think again, when we got more time, I think that's one of the things that bother me about this situation is people are not thinking about this in the long run. And I think Derek can speak to the fact that when you go through therapy and you're trying to undo years of damage, it's not going to happen overnight. So yeah, this situation with this racism is something we've been dealing with for 401 years, right? And we're still dealing with it in the 401st year. So it's still going to take time for us to unravel some of this stuff. So we need to come up with a collective plan, right? That we're going to follow, like Kent said, supporting Black-owned businesses, right? Things of that nature. These are things that we can do on a practical level, but it's not always convenient. And these are things that if we really want to see the change, it's going to cost us something. And a lot of times we want other people to pay the cost for us first, but we won't pay the cost for ourselves first.
Yeah. Derek, go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, I had a few points to follow up with what everybody said as well too. The voting is absolutely. I can speak for like my generation, like the '90s kids and whatnot. A lot of them, when it comes to like the system, when it comes to voting, a lot of them rebel from it, and like that's the way of like fighting back. But like we see that does more damage than good, because what I've heard from a lot of people is like well, if I don't do this, then like like I'm just showing that like it doesn't really matter much, and this is how I prove my point. But it's very passive, and it hurts the community more than anything else. So I agree with you guys about like like voting locally is probably the more important thing in the world that you can do, because it affects your community like right here directly around you. Also working together as well too, trying to organize, putting groups together is necessary with us, because we do need to be on the same page. And if we do have disagreements, we need to work them out between each other and not put the entire world in our problems and try to just work them out together. Because like just like Jermaine said, like you see these other groups of people that are able to do it, and we don't hear anything. We just start seeing stuff happen. We don't hear a peep from that community at all. So trying to be a little more in-house with everything that we do. So like, the Black-owned businesses, the treatment for things as well too, and just work together with things and try to come to a common ground. Something that you said earlier, Michelle, about the cops and like, like, are they trained, like, for like, are they trained for like certain things or whatever? I've worked with like certain cops. I worked with a few cops before in the past, and they are highly traumatized people, even before becoming cops. And I've realized the pattern with that. Like they have gone through a lot of stuff, and we barely talk about the job most of the time. It's the life stuff. And what I've seen from them too is like, the job is when they turn off their life, but I'm like, that's not good either, because then you're taking out all the emotions and all the things you push down all day long, and you're doing it at work. And that doesn't make it okay. Like, right. So I think treatment for cops need to be taken more seriously, because I remember I had a woman a while ago, and she dealt with a lot of things in life. I'm going to start that list of things, but she was saying like how therapy wasn't just readily available for her or any of her coworkers. And not to out them, I can say what county it is, but she said most of her coworkers were alcoholics. And you're stuck in that system of things, and no one can get help. So it's like, I'm not making excuses for cops saying like, they should be personally accountable, but there is bigger issues going on with them as well too. So I think treatment for them should be something that is touched on and worked on as well. And I'm actually surprised no one said it. At least I don't remember anybody saying it, but like this big excuse of Black-owned Black crime, like I think we all understand that's not a real thing. Like if crime happens in proximity, is no such thing as Black-owned Black crime. And I think when we get our own people too to recognize that, and again, like, formulate, work together, and just stop hurting each other, period, I think we can get somewhere as well too. So yeah, I just wanted to throw those things out there because I wrote them down and I wanted to make sure I touched on them.
Two things from me. First, the voting, and I was one of those, back in the day that was like, my vote don't count, I ain't doing it and all that. I think a lot of us have had bouts with that. But now when you think about, and it's the same way that Derek Cooper, in doing what he does with mental health, has to approach things. We look at either working together, we look at voting, and how, sometimes we look at the larger, like the presidential part, working together. We don't look at handle it in small chunks in order for us to get to the bigger picture. So like if you say in the state of Maryland, nobody works, all the Black people don't work together. You got to start with your neighborhood. You got to start with your city. Then you got to go to your county. And then when you say, well, in my county, the police, they rough on people and they do this and they do that and they do this to black people and they do this to who woo woo woo. Well, that police chief has to report to somebody. That person he reports to, you vote for. But we don't think about it like that. We just want to complain about how we're being treated. But if you can control their boss by voting for that person, then you can affect change in that small piece. That small piece works. It now becomes the example for the next county, in the next county, and then the state. And if that state can be a shining example of how to treat people, then they become the catalyst for change across the country. And it starts with you voting for the mayor and the county executive. And I read a post today and it kind of pissed me off because this person is probably 49 or 50 years old. And they was kind of real smug with it. Like, well, I ain't vote today because, and my reason is because I don't know none of those people. So I just chose not to do it. And I know you probably heard this a million times, Tasha. A lot of you guys hear this. And it's like, yo, you got Google. You don't have an excuse anymore not to know who your local officials are. I may not know them all, but I know if I wanted to, I could go and look, and they have events in your neighborhood. They be like, come to this so you can hear what I'm about, and we just brush it off. You have these town hall meetings. Oh, we're going to be here. Any concerns you have, come, and it'd be like 3 people in there. And because I know Tasha, you be at some of them, and it's like we're going to complain about how we get treated, but we don't vote for the local officials. We don't show up to the things where they say come and express your concern. If you took your community and you filled up that town hall and everybody had the same message, they got to do what y'all want, or they get voted out. They're not going to get elected again. So they're going to be like, okay. But they don't have to do that. They can do what they want to do. I just looked at one of the people that was on your show, Tasha, that was going up against somebody who's been in a seat for like 40 years. If you don't like the way things are going, how do you let somebody get elected for 40 years? And then when somebody else comes in that wants to try to change things, you say, well, I ain't gonna vote. It don't even make sense. You don't have an excuse anymore. And that's how we start. We got to start with our neighborhoods. Don't look at it as we got to tackle the world. Well, why aren't the people in Texas doing what they supposed to do, and the black people over in California ain't doing what they supposed to do? You got to start with your city in your neighborhood, so that thing could. Because if a district crime numbers doing a certain thing, people getting treated well, everything's thriving, you don't think the next county over isn't going to be like, damn, what are y'all doing? What's different over there? We need those numbers too. That's how it starts. But we got to start. We have to have a united message, even if it's 50 people in your city that go to a town hall or have some kind of thing where you're educating people on who the candidates are. It's got to start small in order for it to get big. If you try to tackle something big, you're going to stop and you're not going to do it because you're going to think it's impossible. It's impossible to get all black people to work together. It's not impossible to get 5 or 20. And what we know about black people is you see 50 people doing something, you're going to be like, what? What are they doing? I might want to go check that out. I want to join and see. I want to feel like them. A lot of us have a follower mentality. Let's play on that. Let's give them something to follow. But it's got to start because, and me and Alicia talked about this today. Somewhere along the lines, we dropped the ball on leadership. and we're gonna start wrapping up, but we dropped the ball. And I'm not saying that every leader that we had in the 80s and the 70s or whatever was just perfect, but they stood up. And that baton, you know, we have, you know, different segments of the country where you have leaders, but we don't have those type of leaders. But what we need to realize is it'd be great to have one, but in the absence of one, we got to lead in our communities. You don't have to be Al Sharpton to make change. So anybody else have any final comments before we wrap this up? Michelle?
Yes. So I had a few points I wrote down. I promise you I will be quick, okay? I know I say that a lot, but I mean it this time there. But I'm not going in any particular order here. I'm just kind of going as I jotted things down. But just kind of your last point about the leaders, that it takes me back to what Jermaine was just saying. Like, we don't have that, but we need to get back to where we see someone in the community and say, hey, that person, I see this in that person. Let's stand behind them and back them up. And, you know, we have to do that more. I think, you know, because sometimes a person is a leader and it's just their nature and they don't even know that they're that chosen one. And you may see it and say, you know what, that person, that's our future right there. We need to get behind this person and uplift this person, because this is a person that can make some changes. So we do need to get back to that. Also, another point Jermaine made that I wrote down that I see as part of the solution is, you mentioned the sensitivity training. That has to happen, but it has to be ongoing. It can't just be when you first get on the force, we're going to run you through this little one-day sensitivity training. It has to be ongoing. And Derek, to your point about the trauma and let me tell you, I worked for a police department 20 years ago. I was not an officer, but I went on ride-alongs. I saw things. The nightmares that I had just from the calls I was taking and seeing. So imagine someone day in and day out for years. There has to be they have to have some type of budget or funding. You talked about not having the right equipment or training. There has to be something, I think, for mandatory check-ins with someone to see where their mental is. And it should be mandatory. You cannot, if you refuse it, then you can get suspended or something else can happen to you. It has to be some type of mandatory check-in just to see where they are up here. Because I think even with the sensitivity training, day in and day out, you start to get desensitized because you're seeing it every day. So it needs to be ongoing, and there needs to be some type of mental check-in where someone can really see where these people's hands are. Again, I said no particular order here. Coming together. And Derek, I think you had jumped off on Saturday before we got to this portion of our panel, but Tasha heard me say this. You know, we talk about being a united front, and I think, Jermaine, you mentioned, I think it was you that mentioned, we see other cultures that come together and they work together. We need to be a united front, but we need to be it all the time, not just when someone is killed in the street. You know what I mean? And the example I gave on Saturday was, it's like prayer. You know, you're supposed to pray all the time. Even when things are good, you're supposed to pray, not just when things are bad and you need things. So we need to be that united front, that sense of community all the time, not just when the police kill someone or we're mad or we're pissed off. We can't just support our Black-owned businesses when we're mad at the white police. You know, it needs to be ongoing all the time that we're doing this. And I'm trying to get through these as quickly as possible. We need to call things what they are. Part of the solution is, no matter how ugly it is, how uncomfortable it is, we need to call things what they are. Call it what it is. Even at my job, we have to provide briefings to my current project. I'm supporting the Census Bureau, okay? and we have to brief the director of the Census Bureau, the director and the deputy director daily. And part of it was the civil unrest, and our lead wrote it up as the murder of George Floyd. And one of the executive sponsors said, "No, I'm not comfortable with that. We need to change murder to death." And you're uncomfortable, but that's what the hell it was. This man was murdered. Okay, that's what this is about. Okay, people don't just get upset about a death. People are upset because someone was murdered, and it's a continuous thing that is happening. So we have to call it what it is. We have to take accountability. Police need to be accountable for the things that they see. You might be you're not the person doing it, but if you see it, call that shit out. Call it out. Okay. That was my one, right? You said you were gonna give me a pass.
You got your pass.
It is what it is. Call it out. Stop being afraid that you're gonna be isolated. You're not gonna have your little police friends. They're gonna throw you in the corner. You're not gonna, call it out. Stop being worried about it. It's just the right thing to do. Okay. And I think I had like one other thing. I wrote stuff all over the place here. Also, if you do have to file a complaint against the police department, first of all, do it. If there's something and it needs to be a complaint filed, even if you don't think they're going to really do anything about it, you need to have the paper trail. File the complaint and stick through it, because they will send you all kinds of crazy ass hoops to jump through and hopes that you'll give up. And some of these complaints can go on months and years. Don't give up. Show them, okay, you throwing me a hoop to jump through. Okay, let me backflip through that bad boy. Here we go. What's next? Next level. What's going on with my complaint? And lastly, and Jermaine, I think you said this also, we have to be organized, but I do understand that we want to be loud. We want to be heard, but we have to find a way to still be loud and be heard, but do it in a way that's constructive. Okay? Don't do it in a way that's going to make a mockery of it. And everything we work so hard for, it falls apart because, like I said, they're going to take that little thing out of the mask. They're going to take those little things that's making us look like fools, and that's what they're going to focus on. So I had some other stuff, but I said I was going to keep it quick, so I'm going to leave it at that. But those are just my opinions as far as solution. We need to get back to a time when I was growing up, the police were a sense of safety. I looked at the police, and it was a good thing when you saw, not a good, if the police came around, it wasn't always a good thing, but it was a good thing in the sense of safety. They were held in a high regard. You didn't look at them and have fear and distrust. And we need to get back to that somehow, where they are doing the right things, and that we have to just rebuild. It has to be rebuilt to where they're protecting and serving, and we're trusting them to protect and serve, because that has definitely been lost. And like you said, Derek, and I promise you this is it, the natural human reaction, another thing people do, is not just the distrust, but another thing, you could be innocent. You see the police, sometimes people's instinct is to run. Oh my God, I didn't do anything. I'm scared. I'm going to run. And guess what happens when you run? You run. They don't know that you're the wrong person, or, oh, they ran, so they must have done something. And now you're another hashtag. You want another t-shirt that we're buying. And I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, but you're on another program in the clouds with your angel wings because for some foolishness. Because we're scared, and there's no trust. So we have to get the trust back in policing.
Yeah. Anybody else? Final thoughts? Because we're gonna wrap it up. Tasha.
Just real quick, I was looking at one of the comments where they said that the leaders were neutralized or neutered by I think Jamel Oley. As parents, I listened to some, I don't know if I said the name right or wrong. As parents, this new breed of generation that we have, they are ready to rock and roll. And I hear some parents telling their children, you don't need to be involved in that. I don't want to see you getting caught up. Trinity said to me today, Mom, I'm not booking any calls for my home job Friday. I want to go to a rally. Okay. We have got to be careful of neutralizing and neutering the leaders that are ready to be. Some of them have no fear, and we have got to pray over them and let them go, because they just might be the change that we need.
Kent?
Yeah, I was meant to say that too. Like it really needs to be a focus on the youth, because they are the new leaders. You know what I'm saying? They're going the 18 that's coming into the 20s and getting involved in real life. Like we really got to educate them. We got to get programs really geared towards them. It needs to be like go back to that village raising the children type thing again. You know what I'm saying? Everybody just focusing on that. And before something happens, you know, like before the riots and all that break out, we need to be doing that in the calm of the storm. That way, when it does happen, they already know conflict resolution. They already know the proper techniques and strategies of how to deal with things, you know. But I appreciate y'all for having me on today as well.
Yep. My final thought is this, just to piggyback off of that. A lot of us that are of a certain age, sometimes we gift our children, grandchildren, our fears, our traumas, and to Tasha's point, we stifle their growth into a potential leadership role. Like when we talk about, and when I talked about not having those leaders, we could probably count them on one hand back then, the ones that we remember. And what if there were 300 of them rocking at the same time? And the only thing in the way of that is that parent or that community leader saying, you can't do that. You know what's going to happen if you try to speak too loud, if you go to that rally, if you get your friends together and try to, you know, educate some grade, you know, elementary schoolers on finance, or we're doing this to them. And we come from a time, not that we're like, you know, 105, but we come from a time where we were told you can't do that. That's all we know. And so when we raise our kids, a lot of us will say those same things, even though society around us is totally different. We got social media, we got internet, we have access to things that we never had. We have voices now because of that we never had. Look at what we're doing right now. And when you stifle that growth, then you just don't know what that fire that you're putting out by infusing that poison into them. Like Tasha said, they ready to go. They got opinions. They not afraid. And it's on us to help them focus that energy. That's our job. Because a lot of us, we can try all we want to. We got to make sure that when we not here, that baton is passed. That they're ready. We have resources now. Like I always tell people, get your education. But a lot of the education that, like in the past, the educational building, the institutions were the storehouses of information. That's no longer true. You can learn as much as you want to now. And we need to take advantage of that. So we have to be mindful not to put those fires out. Like I look at Tasha's daughter, Trinity, and how she, and just so you know, she's very, very outspoken, just like her mom. She's very, you know, she doesn't mince her words. She lets you know how she feels. She activates when she needs to. But what if Tasha told her, no, don't do that? Trinity's gonna be a leader. She already is. Go ahead, Tasha.
First of all, I want to say, when you said, what if we have 300 people rocking at the same time, a chill went over me when you said that. Just want to let you know that. But that is the big difference between Trinity, me, and her father, and some of the other people around her. A lot of people told my daughter that she should be going to a HBCU. And she just wasn't feeling that from the aspect of big campuses, you know, not being able to go around and find a small one. Not that she didn't want to go to a Black school, but most of them are huge campuses, and I don't want that, Mom. And we were looking at a school in Virginia, but at the last minute, you never know what God got going on. When Trinity went and competed in a pageant with the church, at the last minute, I had already paid her tuition to another school. I had to get a refund. Something with God said to send her, let her go, gave her the opportunity to go to Oklahoma Christian University. Her dad really didn't want her to do that. You gonna let her go that far away? We can't get to her. It's a PWI and it's down south and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm telling you, she is getting 2 educations there. His fear could prevent what we're seeing with Trinity because of that. And we really, I just had to piggyback on you, Derek. We really got to be careful about doing that to our babies. Maybe that's the reason why we're at 401 years. We just got to be careful about that.
Yep. That was a lot, right? I don't know, you know, maybe we come back and do some other topics, but right now we're going to put this one to rest tonight for this. You guys, everybody, the people on the panel, the people that are watching, we got some things to think about. We got some actions we need to take, right? It's not just about thinking. It's not just about scrolling up and down Facebook and Instagram. We got to take action. And I'm going to repeat again, you may not change the country. You may not change the East Coast, but you can change your neighborhood first. You can change your city first. Start small, grow big. Jermaine's holding up a book, Powernomics. Guys, check that book out. I can't see this. Read the author, Jermaine.
That's
Who's the author?
Claude Anderson.
Claude Anderson. Oh, I did. Yes. I didn't read the book, but I'm aware of it. I need to get that. So guys, check that book out, and we're going to wrap it up. I thank everybody for coming in. Michelle, Jermaine, Derek, Tasha, Kent. We may see you guys again. We'll see. It's not like we're at a shortage of topics these days. So, we'll see. You know, we'll see what everybody's schedule is. Maybe we come back. But we're just going to keep pushing. And I want everybody to really, everybody that's listening to this now, go back and replay this. Get a fire in your belly and try to think about it. Like if you have a family, look at your family and think about what your kid's future looks like and what is their part going to be. Are they going to be the type of adult that sits back and does the same thing you doing? I'm not going to vote because I don't know the people and all that. We have an opportunity to show them early. We have access to the information. Before the internet, you might not have been able to research all the candidates as fast as you can now. You can involve your kids in the process now. They could be 10. That's how you affect change. Information. Get the information, then you can share that information and start to build community. So that's all I'm going to say. We're going to get out of here. I thank everyone for coming in. And I'm going to give myself 3 seconds. Hold on. All right. That's where I chopped the podcast off. And we're going to get out of here. Thank you, everybody. We ain't doing no after shows today. We done been on here long enough. So thank you, guys. And we will see you next week. Same time, same place.
I appreciate y'all, man.
All right. 1 second here. Let me do that.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derek Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, cause better relationships need better ingredients. Hey, so if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better. Yeah, Derek Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship Gumbo. Hey.